Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably know right about now, of course, New Japan is almost at the finish line for World Tag League. Now, we're going to focus on the semifinals. There are other matches we will be also going through, but we have the semifinals, of course. We're going to see who's going to step up all the way to, of course, the finals of the World Tag League. And there is a preview match that relates to that, so we'll get to that as well. And then we move on with Evolve. Now, as you probably know, there's going to be a number one contendership for the Evolve Championship. Who will walk out to face Jackson Drake? Will it be, of course, Super Sean's Legacy or Tate Wild? So we will see that as well. But also in Evolve, the war between, of course, has begun between WWE prospects and the PC, which is, of course, the Performance Center guys. So it seems now there's a war within each other in there. And then, of course, we move on with AEW with Winter is Coming. We will witness who will become the first inaugural AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions. Will it be the Babes of Wrath or the Timeless Love Bombs? That's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, we have more of the Continental Classic and the AEW World Championship will be on the line as well. And then, of course, we don't have no news updates for today. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information is unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or nice comments in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers, so let's get to it. So let's begin, of course, with day 15 of World Tag League by New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, this is the latest New Japan show that just took place in Nagasaki. As we continue on with World Tag League, this is day 15, of course, December 10th. Now, we will be doing the semifinals. That's going to be our main event, of course. Now, our first match, we have, of course, the Young Lions, Katsuya Murashima, and Shomakato taking on members of the House of Losers, more specifically, Chase Owens and Yujiro Takahashi. Now, of course, it's no secret in this type of matchup that the Young Lions are supposed to lose since they are on a learning curve, and that's exactly what they've been doing since then. And of course, like any other type of match, it was in fact Chase Owens that picked up the win with the crown jewel. I don't know what he calls it now, but that's what he used it onto Murashima, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was completely over. Our next match, we have Tatsuya Matsumoto teaming up with Shuji Shikawa and El Desperado to take on Masatora Yasuda Satoshi Kojima, and Taichi. Now, many of you may not know this already. We've been seeing Matsumoto hanging out with the Goto Revolution, more specifically, of course, Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto. So he was teaming up with another team, which of course is no problem. But however, this match was not that important. But this match ended with an enziguri by Taichi onto Matsumoto, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was completely over. Our next match, we have Zane J teaming up, of course, with Monster Sauce, Alex Zane, and Atlance Archer, taking on the full force of the United Empire, Jacob Austin Young, Cal Newman, and Great Khan. Now, of course, I'm sure the United Empire are not pleased with the fact that they did not make it all the way to the finals like they would have hoped for, but they were able to get things done thanks to, of course, what's his name? Newman, when he applied a face of an Excalibur onto Zane, just like that. 1, 2, 3, boom, completely over. Next up, we have the other members of the House of Losers, more specifically Dick Togo 2, or more specifically Sho, pretending to be Dick while he's out, teaming up with, of course, Don Fale and Evil himself. And they face off against Bolton Oldleg, Toru Yano, and, of course, the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now, it's no secret, of course, we know that this will be the last time that the Ace will be in this particular place. But however, as you probably know, you probably would think that the House of Losers would definitely try to dismantle Tanahashi to ensure he'll never make it to January 4th. But don't count out the Ace just yet, because that's exactly what it is. But however, as you all know, that the House of Torture will love to use, of course, dirty tactics, but it did not work because unfortunately Sho took on the wrong side of the high-five flow by the Ace, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. Now, our next match, we have, of course, the other members of the House of Losers, more specifically Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Sanada, and Ren Narita. They take on Yuya Uemura, Shota Umino, and, of course, El Phantasmo. Now, of course, I'm sure Yuya Uemura will love nothing more to get his hands on Sanada for betraying the what used to be just 5 guys. But of course, we will see dirty tactics coming from them, like we always seen, because that's exactly what they normally do. But however, there was a bit of a oopsie on Kanemaru's part. But of course, it was in fact Kanemaru who ended up on the wrong side of STF by Shota Umino, and he had no choice but to tap. Now, we have a very interesting mixture between, of course, the unaffiliated and the War Dogs. Now, as you know, we've been seeing very interesting moments. We have, of course, team number 1, Daiki Nagai, Drilla Maloney, Shingo Takagi, Gabe Kidd, and Yota Tsuji. They take on Hiromu Takahashi, David Finlay, Geto, Oscar, and Yudo Ice. Now, this is a bit of a preview, of course, between, of course, the Knockout Brothers, Yudo Ice, and Oscar to take on Yota Tsuji and Gabe Kidd. So basically that will happen next. But the real question is how this will be play out. Now, of course, we've seen the odd couple between both Hiromu and David Finlay recently. You know, either David Finlay uses them as a weapon, or Hiromu does the same thing. I think it doesn't make no difference, but it was entertaining, as you probably can guess. And of course, we have seen the great cohesion between Shingo and Drilla Maloney, how they are a strong, capable team. And then, of course, the egos between both Yota Tsuji and Gabe Kidd. But in the end, of course, we did see Yudo Ice picked up the win when he applied the PK onto Daiki Nagai, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, during the post-match, of course, Hiromu was attacked by the members of the United Empire. If you probably guessed why, I would tell you why it happened. I'm sure you probably can guess that the United Empire are crying like little babies in their big diapers because they did not make it all the way to the semifinals. And I'm sure they're taking their frustrations out on Hiromu because, if you guys remember, both Hiromu and David Finlay put a stop to them. And I'm sure that's what Hiromu is thinking too, that this was just a petty revenge coming from them. And I'm sure David Finlay thinks the same thing too. But we'll see what happens until then. Now we get to the semifinals of World Tag League. We have TMDK, Rohei Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. taking on, of course, Bishamon. Now, don't forget, folks, these guys are 2 or 3 time World Tag League winners and multiple time tag team champions. So that basically is a spot they have to, of course, both Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. to consider, knowing they're not facing a team that are a bunch of slouches, but they know exactly what to do. But, however, of course, some great teaming between Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. played out pretty well because it was Zack Sabre Jr. that pinned Goto with the jackknife. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. So basically, we see, of course, TMDK heading to the finals. But who will join them? That's going to be later on at some point. So we'll see how things is going to progress from there. But as of right now, we are done with New Japan. So let's move on with WWE Evolve. Okay, WWE Evolve. Now, as you probably know, we are now heading to find out who will be our next competitor, the challenge for the Evolve Men's Championship. So, basically, as you know, recently there was going to be a number one contendership, but the real question who's going to be? Now, of course, that project, more specifically, our current champion, Jackson Drake, is not happy with this whole idea. He's not very fond of the idea of finding a number one contendership because he feels like, what's the point? I'm the greatest. But he did say he's going to watch closely who's going to be that person. Now, our first match, we have Layla Diggs versus Nikita Lyons. Now, recently, Nikita Lyons had to make a mockery on both Layla Diggs and Mason Holiday. So that kind of sets it up. Now, many of you may have thought in some capacity that Nikita Lyons was going to walk out with the victory, but no. Nikita Lyons basically distracted herself, got herself in the big pile of trouble by, of course, getting pinned by Layla Diggs, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. But the real question is Nikita Lyons going to accept defeat or not accept it? That's something we'll just have to wait and see what happens, of course, the next time we watch. Now, we did see Sean Legacy having a nice conversation with members of the WWE prospects, more specifically Mike Cunningham, Aaron Rourke, Marcus Mathers, and I believe Cappuccino Jones. So of course they have things in their mind, but the one thing that they did stated, we need to remove, of course, the AEW title off, of course, of the Vanity Project, which is the goal, and that's exactly what they're going to do. However, they did got a visit from someone, of course, who played mentor for Sean Legacy, and that is, of course, Timothy Thatcher. So Timothy said that because of lightened situations, there's going to be a bit of a war between the WWE ID prospects and, of course, the PC guys, which is the Performance Center. So next week, there's going to be a bit of a gauntlet match taken out. Now, there is a stipulation. Whoever wins the match, last person who wins, well, let's say he'll get a shot of the Evolve Championship. But, however, the winning team will be take control of NXT for who knows how long. But yes, that's going to be something interesting that nobody wants to miss. Now, we did see Carly Bright, as you know, in the back, talking to Kendall Gray. Now, of course, she is very happy with the fact that Kendall Gray has become the Evolve Women's Champion. But, however, she feels that she needs to get that competitive edge going because she feels if it's now or never. Now she sees her best friend, of course, becoming champion. Sooner or later, those two will have to bump. And, of course, Kendall Gray respected her decision and, of course, told her, look, it's nice to hear who you are, but do not be this bright and bubbly with everybody because they're going to bring you down, and you can't have that. And of course, Kendall Gray knows what she's talking about because you have to be aggressive to those around you if they're trying to mess with you. So that's something she has to take into consideration. And then, of course, our next match, we have Dante Chen taking on Drake Monroe. Many of you may have seen Drake Monroe in Level Up not too long ago, but however, he faced against Dante Chen. Now, of course, Dante Chen is the fan favorite here. Many people might have assumed that he was going to walk out with the victory, but nope. It was a chokeslam by Drake Monroe, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, Charlie Dempsey, as you know, was in the back. Well, it looks like he has a statement regarding about certain things. He did mention that he did a tour with Noah, but he also has a problem with a specific individual, and that is Timothy Thatcher. Now they're trying to find out who is one of the best technical wrestlers in the world. So we will see a match between those two. So that is something we will pay attention. Now, as you know, It's Gall once again is being himself once again, trying to get everything in order. So we'll see what happens because he will be in a match against Eli Knight. Now, Tate Wilde, he was in the back preparing for his title about his number one contendership, but he was approached by Keanu Carver, Braxton, and of course Presley, of course, to ensure what's going to happen. Apparently, as you know, the war between NXT and the Performance Center guys is now reaching a new level. So Tate, as you probably know, he is not part of the WWE Prospects, but he is from, of course, the PC. But he hasn't stated any allegiance to anybody, so we'll see where that goes from there. However, we did see Eli Knight taking on, of course, Itzgal. The match was pretty okay, but ended with a somewhat of a Blue Thunder bomb by Itzgal onto, of course, Eli Knight, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, Wendy Chu was in the back having therapy until out of nowhere, Chantel Monroe, as you know, was pissed because Wendy Chu cost her the match, decided to take her frustrations out on her. So we'll see those two face off at some point. Now, our main event is the number one contendership between Sean Legacy and Tate Wilde for the Evolve Championship. So the real question is, who out of these two men will be facing each other? Well, that's a very good question. I mean, there was a lot of chaos that happened. We did see the members of the PC making their way through. Tate Wilde tried to say, look guys, I don't need you guys' help, just go. But however, Cappuccino Jones accidentally took out, of course, Tate Wilde, because Tate Wilde does not want nothing to do with them. But fortunately, that's what happened. We did see, of course, someone else making their way through, and then of course we did see Sean Legacy apply shambles onto, of course, Eli Knight, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. And then we did see the onslaught by, of course, Jackson Drake try to dismantle Impossible because he does not want to face him, but sooner or later he has to. So we'll see where that goes from there. But as of right now, we are officially done with WWE Evolve, so let's move on with AEW Dynamite. Winter is coming. Okay, final review. AEW Dynamite, Winter is coming. Now, we opened up, of course, with the finals of the AEW Women's World Tag Team Tournament. So, who will walk out as the winners? Will it be the Babes of Wrath, Willow Nightingale and Carly Cameron, or will it be, of course, Timeless Love Bomb, Mina Shirakawa or Toni Storm? Now, to be honest with you, I was a bit biased on this one because they're both excellent teams, but the real question who is going to walk in. But the truth is, earlier in the entire tournament, I would have assumed in some capacity that Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa would have been a good logical choice. But, however, adding the Babes of Wrath, that kind of changed it a bit of perspective for me in some ways. I mean, we would have assumed, like many other fans, it was going to be, of course, a heel versus a face. But no, it was face versus face. But it was a pretty good match because it showed they were not holding anybody back. And it was pretty much exactly like you would have hoped. A match to remember. And that's exactly what Mina Shirakawa, of course, mentioned. But unfortunately, Mina Shirakawa ended up on the wrong side of the Dr. Bomb by Willow. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, finally, the first inaugural champions is Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron, Babes of Wrath. And I thought it was really great. You know, and of course, Toni Storm and Mina, well, they congratulated them at the end. They even lighted in more when the conglomeration were happy for them that they actually pulled it off. But now the real question as we speak, now that they are the new champions, the Babes of Wrath, who will be the first team to take a crack at them? I'm sure we got the Sisters of Sins, Julia Hart and Sky Blue, most likely. We even probably have Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne. I don't know. But we'll see how that plays. Now, the Ops, as you know, they have a lot of things in their way. Of course, they are going to be dealing with Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page a little later. But however, Samoa Joe has his sights set on Eddie Kingston to defend the AEW World title. So we'll get to that as well. Now, once again, Jon Moxley decided to give his little propaganda, of course, with everything that's been going on with the Death Riders. Recently, as you probably know, he's had some recent losses that he had, but he's not letting this affect him. But the real question is Darby Allin right? That sooner or later, his luck is going to run out and they're going to see that he is a fraud. Well, we'll see what that leads us there too. Now we jump in, of course, with the Continental Classic Gold League. We have, of course, Jungle Jack Perry. Now, many of you know this. Jack Perry was added to this mix because Darby Allin was forced out. So basically, the points that he had in that loss against Kevin Knight is now in his effectiveness. But he has to go against someone he's familiarized. We're talking, of course, the Rainmaker, of course, Kazuchika Okada. So that plays out too well. But one thing is interesting. We did see a moment where, of course, Okada was trying to bite off the hand of Jack Perry. Then we did see Jack Perry bite off the gonads of Okada. So I thought it was very interesting. But unfortunately, things didn't go according to plan for Jack Perry because Jack Perry ended up on the wrong side of the Rainmaker. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. So Okada got 6 points on the board, leaving, of course, Jungle Jack Perry with just 0. However, Don Callis is trying to play the smart game where he's trying to recruit Jack Perry to give him the money that they won from that $1 million stingy going on. But of course, Jack Perry was not having it. Then, of course, the Don Callis family tried to deal with them. And then we did see Luchasaurus and the Bucks make their way through. So we'll see what goes on from there. Now, we did see an interview with what's his name, Eddie Kingston. Of course, he's a bit nervous about the fact that this is a huge night for him. I mean, he didn't ask for it, but it seems like it's going to happen, of course, for the AEW World title. So we'll see what's going to happen. But he did state that he dedicates this match to Tarek Funk because they are now in the 50th anniversary when he became world champion, which is, of course, a memorable thing. And he said that he hopes he makes them proud. And, of course, we probably know that he probably will be proud. Now, we did see, of course, an interview with Tony Schiavone in the ring talking to Mark Briscoe. Now, many of you know Mark Briscoe is the current TNT champion, but he's facing against someone who is familiarized with this title, and that is, of course, what's his name? Daniel Garcia. But, of course, everybody in the Death Riders are thinking that Mark Briscoe is full of himself, but we all know he's not. He's not playing around. But, of course, he did rile up Daniel Garcia, but Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta tried to maintain him. But the real question is, can they? Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens down the road. Now, once again, of course, the Triangle of Madness, Tekla, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue once again caused another rampage in the backstage by attacking the women's locker room. However, Chris Lander showed up to deal with them, but she became like a one-woman wrecking machine in there. So, yeah, you probably can guess that. Now, our next match, we have, of course, the Ops, Katsuyori Shibata and Powerhouse Hobbs taking on Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. But however, of course, the Ops Dojo fools decided to make a beeline to the opposition, but it didn't work because they got their butts handed to them. But we did see a moment where both guys had their guys in outside the ring, tried to dismantle them for quite some time. And then once they got into the ring, that's when things turned a little bit. But we did see Shibata apply the low blow to Hangman, but that did not do any well. But however, of course, we did see a house call by Swerve onto Shibata, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But however, in the back, we did see, of course, Josh Alexander watching this. So as you know, he will be facing Swerve Strickland this coming Saturday in Collision. So we'll see how that plays out too. Now, of course, Don Callis' family is not happy with the results of what's been happening. So he just called out the Bucks and they said they're going to be a 3-on-3 match, that sort of thing. So they're going to put their portion on the money on the line, along with, of course, the portion that Don Callis has on the line as well. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, of course, Stokely Hathaway was having a little talk saying that certain things, of course, they're not, in fact, they're a bit cautious about what's been going on with them and all this and that. So we'll see where that goes from there. Now our next match is the Continental Classic Gold Line. We did see, of course, Kyle Fletcher versus Mike Bailey. I have to say, awesome match. I mean, I was so blown away. I don't know. Part of me thought in some capacity that Mike Bailey would most likely pick up the win. I mean, many people probably put their monies on Kyle Fletcher, obviously. But I thought it was great. We did see they pulled every stop they have. Every move that they had in their arsenal to put each other out was going to be complete. But nope, it did not. Until Mike Bailey picked up the win by a pinfall. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, Mike Bailey pulled off the biggest upset, taking out Kyle Fletcher, gaining his first 3 points. So that's going to be huge right there. Now, Hangman, as you know, he is unhinged, pissed off at Samoa Joe. But he did state it. He's going to watch what's going to happen at the AEW World Championship match. So we'll see where that goes from there. Now, we did see the Bucks in the back responding to Don Callis' challenge. Well, most likely they are accepting it. But first they had to find a third partner. So they asked Luchasaurus. So he goes, mm-mm. And then he pointed out this way, which had the locker room of Kenny Omega. It's like, yeah, you're right. So they asked Kenny to do it, but he did state it, I'll do it for free. So that works in his favor. So we'll see where that goes from there. Now our main event is for the AEW World Championship. Samoa Joe versus Eddie Kingston. I thought the match was okay, but however, we did see Hook getting involved until he was thrown out. So basically, adios Hook. But it took a long time to try to dismantle Eddie Kingston. But in the end, Samoa Joe applied the kudo clutch, and just like that, he tapped out, completely over. So that's how things ended with Winter is Coming. So we'll see what's going to happen this coming Saturday. But we are now officially done with our reviews. We don't have any news updates, so let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have, of course, TNA and Ring of Honor. So stay tuned for that. And if there's anything else, I'll let you guys know. But that's pretty much it. So until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.